Thanksgiving week. The holidays are officially here. Here we go. We're ready. We can tackle anything. It's great. It seems to unfold and flow so quickly and amazingly. And our goal is to enjoy every minute of it. So my talk this week is living from the fullness. And no, I'm not talking about how it's going to feel about 3 o'clock outside on Thursday afternoon after we eat all the turkey and pie. Right? It's not. These are not dietary suggestions for you to handle how you digest your dinner. What we're talking about today is how to connect to that divine presence and allow that fullness, that truth that we know, that peace and calm that we can get on the inside, to be our experience on the outside. Right? That's our goal. You with me? Sound pretty good? Okay, just making sure you're awake. I'm awake, so I'm hoping you're awake. All right, so what I love about Thanksgiving, it's my favorite holiday. I absolutely adore it. I love every minute of it. I love for it to be not just a day, but the whole week. I love it to be the whole month. I love it. I love for Thanksgiving to actually be all of the holidays. Would be great for me. And the reason of it is I think of that old Norman Rockwell image, right? That Norman Rockwell image of Thanksgiving with that huge turkey, that table laden with overflowing with the bounty of the fall, and there's that family smiling as Dad's about to dig in and cut the turkey, and Mom's shining gloriously because it's a perfectly cooked turkey and everything's just gorgeous, right? You got the picture of that? I've never had a holiday like that ever, have you? Yeah. I've got the picture. I'm more likely to have experienced the picture of, the turkey that gets a little dried out and the gravy that's lumpy, God forbid, you have lumpy gravy, and sorry, I'm going to do it, Uncle Joe, who says the wrong thing at the wrong time and brings up that old family, thinks it's funny to make fun of that old family feud that's been going on for 30 years, right in the middle of dinner, and then so-and-so gets offended and someone else gets mad, and then some little one spills the water all over the table that spills the wine on the white linen tablecloth. Ever be at that Thanksgiving? Yeah, I've been there too, So no matter what the picture is of what the experience is, my goal is for each and every one of us to just be able to do what Joe just taught us, to look at that and say, that's God, and walk through it with grace, right? Because that's not important. We have to manage our expectations for our holidays. We need to manage our expectations for our life and connect to what's really important and what's true, and allow that to be that which comes forth, that which flows. And so that's what I'm talking about living from the fullness. I'm talking about the idea of when we connect to that presence of the divine in any area of our life, it reveals itself in our experience. So when we are trying to be grateful, when we're trying to have an experience of connection, when we're trying to create an important event or experience, when we have our expectation lead the path, we get ourselves in trouble. The table's going to be beautiful and everyone's going to get along and it's all going to be a nice holiday. That's what I heard growing up. Can't we just have a nice holiday? Because my mom would always stand in the middle of the kitchen and say, can't we just have a nice holiday? It is a nice, I remember saying to her, it is a nice holiday, what's wrong with you? And so everything was wrong, everything would go wrong. So it's about managing our expectations and connecting to the truth of what we know is important. Because these holidays are moments that have a little bit more intensity to them, that have a little bit more light shining on it. But the truth is, this is every day of our lives. Every day of our lives, we have to manage our expectations. We need to connect to what's important and what's true to allow that flow of life to happen in that place of grace and in that experience of peace. There can be harmony in our family relationships. I know it. I've seen it. I've created it. I know it for you. There can be peace of mind with our own selves. And when we find that, when we connect to that, we don't get off that rock. We stand in that place of knowing so well that no one else can pop us off. Remember, one of my favorite sayings is weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, right? Spiritually, we are weebles. We can wobble, we can kind of be pushed off our center, but we cannot be pushed down. Because we always pop back into that truth of who we are, which is God in expression. So what does it really mean to live from the fullness. It's about allowing that sense of gratitude to be true for us no matter what we're experiencing. Because the spiritual practice of gratitude teaches us that there is a divine perfection in our lives. When we have that, and it's not just practicing gratitude, right? Gratitude's a really ubiquitous term. It's a practice that we're all taught, and we all know, right? We all know that the practicing gratitude and being grateful in our lives leads to happier, healthier experiences, right? We all know that. There's been studies that have talked about that our physiology gets stronger, our immune system gets better, we have more peace of mind, we have a bigger capacity for joy when we practice gratitude. And so, the idea that we are using this as a spiritual practice, for most of us, is a little bit different than what we're talking about. Because for most of us, when we practice gratitude, we think X will happen, or we get X, fill in the blank, more money, a new relationship, getting some new opportunity in our work life, that our kids are succeeding and all well and safe, or whatever that is. Fill in the X, and then we're grateful, right? It's a this and then a that. But what the spiritual practice of gratitude teaches us is the opposite. We are grateful first, and then the blessings reveal themselves. When we can connect to that experience of gratitude, it opens the floodgates to allow the universe to pour its gifts towards us and into our experience. But we aren't trained to do that. We are trained to look at what we've got and be grateful for what we have, what the good stuff is. And let's face it, we live in a culture that says more, better, bigger, right? And here we are in Southern California with all the McMansions and I've seen more fancy cars in Southern California in the last couple of years than I have ever in my life. That there's just this idea of stuff. There's something about it that permeates our culture. But that's not how we find gratitude. That's not how we allow the universe to support us. That's not how we allow the abundance of life to move through us, the abundance of God. We find a way to connect with what we have to be grateful for every day. And then life reveals the blessings. It's that way. You with me? It's opposite, right? It's opposite of what we think. And so I was thinking about the teachings, and I love that reading that Debbie did today from Eric Butterworth. He's a Unity minister that wrote my favorite book, my very favorite book on abundance and gratitude, called Spiritual Economics. And he reminds us this about God. He said that God is not a being with qualities or attributes, but he is the good itself coming into expression as life, love, power, and wisdom. What this says is that God is not loving. God is the allness of love. God is not wise. God is the allness of wisdom. God is not a dispenser of the divine substance. God is the allness of ever-present substance in which we live, move, and have our being. So what that tells us is that we don't look to God to give or bestow blessings on us, but God is the wholeness of the quality of what we're wanting to experience. And as we align with that quality, as we sync up with it, right? We're all techies now, because we've all got all those tech gadgets. We've got to sync them up, right? I've got some weird thing going on right now that my phone used to be connected to my computer and my iPad, and now nothing's talking to anything, and I'm out of sync. So I'm missing conversations, I'm missing texts and messages and things because nothing's in sync. And that's how it works when we align with the divine. If we are out of sync with what we know God to be, then nothing's communicating with our life. My tech friends get that one? Good. Okay, good. I knew that there were a couple in here who would get that. Yeah. So, but it's by connecting that, it's by being aligned with that truth of what it is that we're wanting to experience that we allow it to be in our life. Again, Eric Butterworth says this: we talk of faith that God will provide. But what do we mean by that? Faith doesn't influence God out there to send riches to us down here. Faith is the spiritual capacity by which we may form and shape this ever-present basic element of spirit substance. So he said this in this book. He said something about this guy named Mike Todd. I don't know who Mike Todd is, but we'll bless him because he said something really profound. Mike Todd once put this awareness in the simplest way when he said, "Many times have I been broke, but I've never been poor." Any person who understands this will have in his or her possession the key by which he or she will always be able to demonstrate prosperity and security no matter what the conditions are in the world. And that is living from the fullness. We live from the fullness when we practice the art of gratitude. And so, Sean Aker, who was the author of The Happiness Advantage, said, "We used to think that you inherit optimism and pessimism, so some people will be better than others at gratitude. But we now know that you can train your brain to see more positives in the same way you would train your body to swing a golf club." And so now, being the wife of a golfer, I realize that's not that easy. I mean, you can train yourself to swing a golf club, but there's trickiness in it, right? And that's the same way that we train ourselves to be optimistic, to live in gratitude. It's like building that muscle. It's like working out. It's a spiritual workout for us to build our ability to be grateful. And so what that means, though, is that it's not just about finding those good things that happen to us. It's about taking every day a slice of your day, and it doesn't matter what slice it could be. It could be the hardest part of your day. That's actually the most advanced spiritual work, is to take the hardest thing you experience, the biggest challenge you experience in your day, and find out how to be grateful for it. How can you dig deep into the experience of life and realize that there's something there for you? Now, that is not easy. It can be really hard. But that's the true spiritual work. That's where we realize that nothing is ever all good or all bad. Life is not either good or bad. It's not black and white. We are much more complex and complicated than we think. But I do know that there is a divine perfection to the unfoldment of life. And when something happens, it's there for us. And it's really hard to say that. It's really hard to say that when I walk through so many tragic, difficult experiences with people. That things happen that are hard. Things happen that are challenging. But what I do know is that even in the midst of that challenge, even in the midst of that difficulty, there is a blessing there for you. That there is something that you can be grateful for. There is an opening or a realization or a deep connection. And it is there for you, for your blessing. To remember, to remind you that you are not alone, that there is something greater operating and you are part of it. We are all part of this divine plan, and it is unfolding in a divine perfect way for us, in some way that we can't explain. And sometimes it's not till way, way later that we can look back and say, hey, look, my life started then. My new path started with that difficult thing, and if that had never happened, I would never have gotten here. And here is the most important piece. Got me? Yep, you get it? You see it? Great. So, there was a woman named Kathleen Norris, who's an author, and she wrote a book called Acedia and Me. And this was a really moving book about her marriage to the poet David Dwyer, who had struggles with mental illness and his untimely death. And she remembers walking to visit her husband in a psychiatric ward on a day when it was so frigid that it hurt to breathe. So all my transplants that are with me, you know what I'm talking, you know what she's talking about, right? You remember that sharp thing when you take a breath in and it feels like there's needles on the inside of your lungs? Yeah, okay, you got the picture on that. As she cursed the cold and icy pavement under her feet, she recalled some words from that Sunday's church liturgy. It said this: "Bless the Lord, winter cold and summer heat. Bless the Lord, dews and falling snow. Bless the Lord, nights and days. Bless the Lord, light and darkness. Bless the Lord, ice and cold. Bless the Lord, frost and snows. Sing praise to him and highly exalt him forever." Norris wrote, "The words were now a part of me, And when I most needed them, the rhythms of my walking had stirred them up to erode my anxiety and self-pity and remind me that blessings may be found in all things. Now, for us, we might use a different terminology. Bless the Spirit, right? We might say bless the Spirit in this and recognize it. And so maybe maybe this week, as we go through our week, we can walk through and say, bless the Spirit. And Uncle Joe in his conversation, right? Bless the Spirit in my pie that got burned. Bless the Spirit when everybody came late. Or my favorite Thanksgiving was when I did a dinner for 20 and 9 of them got the flu on the morning of. Bless the Spirit when I have more food than I know what to do with. So maybe that's a terminology that we can use. And I make fun of it a little bit now about the holiday, but the truth is, when we're experiencing something that we don't know how it could be a blessing to us, maybe we just silently bless it. Maybe just we remember that God is here too. Maybe we just remember that there is a divine aspect to our lives and we don't really need to understand it. But if we name it, if we bless it, then the blessing has a pathway forward for us. I don't know if anybody else was on the highway on Friday. We were coming over to go to the movies on Friday evening, and there was an accident that backed up traffic more so than normal. And when I realized that it was a traffic accident, I do what I always do when I drive by an accident, is I just go into my mantra, which is God is here, God is here, God is here, God is here. And especially when I don't know it and I can't see it and it hurts my heart, I just find myself going into that mantra over and over again, looking at a situation and saying, God is here, God is here, God is here. I don't know how, I don't know why, but it just makes me feel better. To remember that there is a dynamic, an aspect of some situation or some experience that is beyond my understanding. I can't tell you how the challenges of your life will be blessings for you, but I know they will be. I can't tell you how to see it, but I know you will see it if you're open to it. Again, we want to remember that what we put our attention on expands. What we see in front of us, the way that we live, expands. It's how we experience life. Our life is a reflection of who we are. And so when we are in that optimistic mindset of knowing that, this might be really hard, but I know God's here and there's something for me, so I'm just going to walk through it. I'm going to be present with it and allow God to show it to us. And that is a spiritual practice of gratitude. It reminds us that there are blessings all around us all the time. And when we put our attention on those things, two things happen. When we sing the praise of life, let's sing the praise of life. There are two things that happen. One is the painful, challenging experience gets smaller. It gets easier to take. It gets easier to handle. And the second thing is that the blessings multiply. They multiply like the bunnies in my yard are multiplying like crazy all of a sudden. And so there's two things that happen there. That the thing that is really tough for us gets easier to take. And then all of the other little side blessings get bigger. Because let's face it, when a challenge hits, sometimes that's all we can see. We can't see past it. It's going to be a horrible Thanksgiving this year. So-and-so had whatever happen. Or this is happening, or whatever. Whatever situation you've got, you could focus on the challenge, and that's all you're ever going to see. But if we realize that this is part of an unfoldment, so you're never stuck in any one situation, and you're never overwhelmed by that one thing, that you can realize that there's room for other blessings. And then life gets put back into balance. And so when we live from that place of knowing that there is a gift in everything, that there is something to be grateful for because we woke up today, there is something to be grateful for. We move into creating our life from that energy and from that essence, from that presence, from that experience, and it expands. There's always going to be moments of great challenge and difficulty. We're called to walk through life. That's what we are doing. But when we add the judgments of ourselves and the choices that we made and think that we're stupid and I can't believe I got myself into this, what we're doing is we're digging ourselves into a hole that we can't get out of. But when we realize that, you know what, we are constantly creating, I created this, I can create something different. I just have to shift my consciousness. I just need to turn my head and see something different. And when you can do that, you step out of the hole and into the light and into the joy of life. And so when you add some, so let's just get the picture here for a second, because if you're in your self-judgment and you think you made some dumb choices, or you're mad at the world or God or whatever for creating you the way you are, or you're creating your life the way it is, and then you add that judgment on top of it in the middle of that hole, let's add some turkey and some stuffing to that. And there you have Thanksgiving, right? No, we're not going to walk into Thanksgiving that way this year. We're not going to walk into our life this way this year. We're not going to walk into any one of the holiday experiences that way. We're going to walk in with our hearts open, grateful, because you know what? We did wake up today. You know what? We are conscious. You know what? We have so many things to be grateful for. And so I know that it's not even Thanksgiving yet. And so I'm going to ask for forgiveness for everybody who might get a little mad at me that I'm going to show you a Christmas video. But Suzanne already made it okay because she's wearing a Santa hat a week early. But I'm not playing Christmas music until Thursday night after dinner. Okay? So it starts Thursday night on the way home from Thanksgiving is when I put my Christmas music on and we go see the Christmas lights for the first time on the way home from Thanksgiving. But I am going to show you a Christmas video. So we've got a quick little video here.
I'm alive! I'm alive!
Yeah?
Yeah? Oh, yeah! Hey, Christine! You're here too! I love you!
I know.
Dad, what's happening?
Honey, the power works! It's coming, it goes on and off whenever we want! We've got clean water! Oh, that's great, look at that! Ooh. I bet I know what this does! Rain down the glorious water! Ah, shoes. Oh, what do we got here, guys? Food! I love food. What? A big thing? You gonna have work? This is awesome! Look, listen here. Dee, the what?
Jack, be careful!
Oh, I have a car! This is great! Did you guys see this?
Yeah, you have a car!
A car!
And don't forget your coffee.
You're the best.
I love it. It's from a church down in, I lost my mic. I have a mic. It's from a church in South Carolina, and I love that. And I think it speaks so well to how, what we forget, right? We get into this idea of the normal, and that everything is just what it is. And then we downplay everything that we've got. We are living lives of great blessing just because we are here. We are where we live and the situation that we're in. And I know, again, I'm not diminishing the fact that so many people are challenged and we're living in a challenging time in the world right now. But even so, we have so much to be grateful for. There's so much there for us. And so what I know is that this holiday it's easy in Thanksgiving week to be grateful. It's easy to think of all of those things that we are grateful for and to come together with family and our friends and those we love and celebrate the holiday. It's really easy to do that this week, but I want every week to be Thanksgiving. I want every week for us to be able to wake up every morning and take that first conscious breath, because we've been breathing all night, but to take that first conscious breath and realize, oh my goodness, I am alive. I have the gift of this day to create something magnificent. I have the gift of this day and this connection and this awareness to be able to do something wonderful. I can make my life a blessing and bless other people. To remember that we are each the divine in action. And so I bless you on this holiday week, and I know that as we open to all that we truly have to be grateful for, as we dig into even those challenges, the blessings abound around us. It's a wonderful, powerful time to be alive. There's a lot that we can do, but the best thing we can do is shine our light forward. And so I don't care if your turkey gets burnt. I don't care if your pies get overbaked. I don't care if you've got lumps in your gravy or in your potatoes. It doesn't matter, because you are a gift to this world. You are a gift to this community, and because you are a gift of God. And so let us live from that fullness and allow life to unfold in the grace and the joy that was meant to be. And so it is.